Hey, what up, guys? So this is video number 2 right here. I just want everybody to know I'm wearing my hat up on purpose. I think it's just the angle I have the thing on because it always looks like my hat's up. But anyways, that's not important. All right, so we're gonna do the most controversial decisions of 2018 in boxing. I'm gonna break down what fights won for each division, the most controversial in each decision or each division, and then I'll do my top five as I did before with the other one, the biggest upsets of the year. So as you can see, my shirt, badass. All right, so let's start with the divisions that weren't finalists for the most controversial decisions of the year. We'll start with 122, which is super bantamweight, and the most controversial one there was Ryosuke Iwasa against T.J. Doheny. This was for the IBF title at 122. Iwasa was the champion coming in. Doheny got a controversial but close unanimous decision. I thought this fight was close, but considering Iwasa, I was very surprised by it because it was a close fight. I was expecting Japan to for sure give it to their boy Iwasa, and I felt like he won the fight anyways. But they ended up going with the Australian Doheny, which I was surprised by. But he got the win. It was a close fight. Most people felt that Iwasa won the fight though, so that's really all it was. But it wasn't a hugely big fight. It was a mandatory fight. So Doheny was the undefeated number one contender, and now he's the champ. I hope a rematch is sometime in the future, but we haven't heard anything. But that's 122's most controversial. Now 126 is a little bit different. I went with controversial fights too on just scoring itself. Even if they got it right, I went to the scoring of the fight. So if the scoring was horrible, then I went with that for even if they got it right, if that makes sense. So this next fight at 126, this is Lee Selby against Josh Warrington. Josh Warrington got a split decision, but that's the problem. He was the deserving winner of the fight, but there's no way that this fight was that close. In terms of what I read that this was a terrible call in terms of them even scoring it that close to make it seem that Selby was even in this fight because from what I read, he really wasn't. Warrington should have won this fight by unanimous all the way across, but they called it a split decision. So I'm going to call some of these ones too because the scoring in boxing is getting ridiculous and it's really bad. So Selby was the champ. He was the favorite going in. Warrington, also from the United Kingdom, just outworked them and outclassed them, almost stopped them from what I heard, and the fight got scored a split decision for some reason. So that's 126. Next up is 130. 130 really didn't have a controversial call that mattered, so I really don't have a candidate at this weight class at super featherweight. 135 is lightweight. The most controversial there was Ray Beltran, unanimous decision over Paulos Moses. There was a lot of people that thought this fight was a lot closer than they called it. I think a couple judges had it 8 rounds of 4, which was a bad call, and I think one judge even had it even way higher than that. This was a really close fight that really could have went either way. It should have been scored that way, and they gave it to Beltran by wide scores, and it really wasn't that close. I mean, it really shouldn't have been like that. So this is another one where I didn't have a problem with them giving it to Beltran, but I really felt this fight was close enough to be called split decision, majority decision, even a very close unanimous decision, and it just wasn't. So this one was pretty bad scoring on this one. 140, the most controversial there was Josh Taylor against Victor Postol. This was another one where, from what I read, they didn't have a problem with Taylor getting the unanimous decision over Postol. It's just the scores were outrageous. It was in Taylor's home country of Scotland, but they scored it. I think a couple judges had it like 11 rounds to 1. And this was a great fight, and there's no way that this fight was that much of a blowout. And again, judges, especially being at home in Scotland, just horrible in this one. This is a bad call. The right guy, they say, won. It was a close fight, but most people felt Taylor won still. But just for him to win by that big of margins, even he had a problem with it. Even he said the scores weren't what they reflected. And, just really poor case of judging right here. That really, like I said, this is the stuff that really hurts boxing. Next up is welterweight, the most controversial decision at welterweight. There wasn't a lot here in terms of big fights, controversy, but I felt the most controversial was Andre Berto and Devin Alexander. This fight, Alexander should have won. He won pretty much the first half of the fight, and even more than that into the second half. And Berto made a good rally in the last 3 or 4 rounds, but I just think this was terrible that they gave it to Berto. Berto is a good fighter. He just didn't deserve this decision. Devin Alexander deserved it. He worked hard. This was his second straight bad decision. They had him a draw with Victor Ortiz back in February, and he just really, it's shame on the judges for this one. Berto fought hard, like I said, for a few rounds at the end, but he didn't deserve this one. So just surprised that this one got scored in favor of Berto. Now the next one, we go to 168 super middleweight. I really didn't have a candidate here either. A lot of the fights were close. I didn't have a problem with them scoring with any fights there. And then that's pretty much it. Now everything else is the finalists now. So we're going to go top 5 on most controversial. Number 5 was the cruiserweight. At cruiserweight, it was Maris Briedis against Noel Mikaelian. Now this fight made the list. This might have been the worst decision of the year in terms of, who should have won the fight. Briedis coming in was the number 1 ranked fighter in the World Boxing Super Series, and Mikaelian wasn't even ranked. And Briedis, he fought, Alexander Usyk. He fought him to a majority decision loss back in January. Great fight in the semifinals of the World Boxing Super Series Season 1. So, going in as a number 1 seed into Season 2, everybody was expecting a blowout here. And Mikaelian outworked him. He outclassed him. He should have won the fight. I was pulling for Briedis too, and I thought he got beat, and I thought he got beat convincingly. And the judges came back with a unanimous decision for Briedis. It was garbage. Terrible call. Mikaelian totally deserved it. It would have rocked the Super Series. It really would have. And, this was just a very bad call and shocking call. So, and that sucks for Mikaelian because it really sets him back right there. A win in the Super Series to get to the semifinals, upsetting the number 1 seed would have been huge for his career. And now he's got to go back to the drawing board and start over. He doesn't even have a chance at a rematch with Briedis. And Briedis is probably going to be fighting for a world title in the semifinals again. So, yeah, just a shame that they got this one wrong. Number 4, most controversial decision was Adonis Stevenson against Badou Jack. This one ended in a draw. It was for the WBC light heavyweight title. Personally, I didn't have a problem with this fight being scored a draw, but a lot of people did have a problem with it. A lot of people felt that Jack won the fight. I'm going to tell you why I think he didn't. The first half of the fight, I absolutely gave it to Stevenson. I thought he won 5 rounds at least, maybe at least 4 rounds, 4 to 5 rounds for sure of the first half of the fight. And then the second half of the fight, yes, Badou Jack took over the fight, and he was outworking him and wearing him down. But in the 10th round, I think it was the 10th or 11th round, Stevenson landed a body shot on Jack and almost knocked him down with that. Really hurt Jack badly. And he pressed him, and and Jack wouldn't go down. It was a good one, but that was the one round that made this fight a draw, because if Stevenson doesn't get that round, I have him losing the fight. I had it 6-6 was the final call, but a lot of people felt Jack should have won the fight. So it was close enough to go either way. I really didn't have a problem with it, but other people did. A lot of people in the boxing world did. And, that's what I think about that fight. That fight finishes 4th because it was a big deal fight too. Number 3 goes to Tony Harrison against Jermell Charlo for the super welterweight title, the WBC super welterweight title. Harrison got a unanimous decision. Personally, I had Charlo winning this fight 7 rounds to 5, but this fight was very close. That's what a lot of people, and the bias that Fox was showing to Charlo was just amazing, that they made it out like Charlo got robbed. The only reason I gave Charlo the fight is because I just didn't feel, I thought Tony Harrison was landing the better shots. I just don't feel like he was doing enough, but he was landing the better shots and the more solid shots, where Charlo was landing pretty much the he was just throwing more is all he was doing. He was just working harder. But I really felt like Harrison was landing the cleaner and better blows, and I thought the fight was close. I had it 7-5 for Charlo, but the judges came back with, I think, one judge had it 8-4 for Harrison, and the other two had it 7-5 for Charlo. A lot of the rounds were close in this one, but they felt it's controversial. We're likely going to see a rematch here because he has an automatic rematch clause. Does Charlo? So he'll be able to redeem that. But that was my number 3 most controversial of the year. Number 2 was Canelo and Triple G. Personally, I did not score this fight, which is a shock. A fight of this magnitude. But I wanted to just enjoy this fight, and I'll tell you, every round was close in this fight, in my opinion. I don't think you can just totally say, oh, this guy absolutely won this round of this fight. This fight was close. It was back and forth. The numbers said that. Canelo power shots. He was pushing the action. He was dictating the pace. Triple G landed more punches, but they weren't a lot more. He landed about 20 to 30 more, but his were mostly defensive shots, jabs and stuff like that, where Canelo was landing the harder shots. He was pushing the action. And I felt like it was a fair decision. It was very close. It could have went either way, but a lot of the haters felt Canelo lost again, and because it's such a big fight and it was such a close fight, it's controversial still, and this qualifies. So I made this the number 2 most controversial decision of the year. Not saying it was a bad one, but I just think it was a controversial call, either way. And, Canelo got the win, and I think either guy was deserving in this fight. But the most controversial decision of the year, absolutely, in my opinion, was Deontay Wilder against Tyson Fury. This fight ended in a draw. It was horrible call. I still, even with the 2 knockdowns, I had Fury winning this fight by 4 points. And that means by 4 rounds, including those 2 knockdowns. It's just a bad call here, guys. A bad call, It happens, but man, what's his name? Deontay Wilder was getting just worked. Tyson Fury was controlling the action, controlling the pace. Wilder was missing nonstop, and he could barely hit what's his name, Fury, and at times when he would throw a jab, it worked, but he did not throw jabs. He was looking for power shots. He was headhunting the whole time, and Fury just completely outboxed him. The 2 knockdowns, yeah, those count. Those are 2 extra points, yeah, but it still wasn't that close, and this was just a damn shame. It really was a damn shame, and I'm just, I can't believe one judge would give him 7 rounds, another judge would give him, was it? I think another judge called it 6 rounds or 5 rounds. I just don't see how Wilder won that many rounds, 5 or 7, especially. So this one, absolutely, we should have had a new champion. Tyson Fury got robbed. They will have a rematch, and I'm looking forward to it. And that's and it wasn't just the decision. There was also controversy, although I counted the seconds. If Tyson Fury really got up at the count of 9, a lot of people are saying the ref should have stopped the fight. Fury got up. He did what the ref told him to do. He got up right at 9. I mean, I didn't have a problem in the world with that call, and I counted the seconds. I went back and counted a replay. I was on with the ref where the ref was supposed to be. It was a right call. So, but there's controversy from that. So, big fight ended in controversy. We'll see a rematch, but that's it. So, Deontay Wilder, the draw with Tyson Fury is my winner for most controversial decision of the year. And either tonight or tomorrow, guys, I'm going to come back with the knockout of the year, and also with another one, the contenders win of the year, which means non-title fights. Guys that are just fighting to get into title fights or get into a better position for a world title shot, and they're just going at it, contenders. So that's it, guys. I hope you like this one. Keep checking me out, and I will see you guys later. All right, bye.